All right, guys, we're going to get looking at this for loop. And we're at a bit of a crossroads here. We just learned about while loops. Hopefully you're feeling good about that. And we could either jump into a brand new idea or we could learn another way of doing a loop. And so I just decided that we're going to do the for loop. And hopefully you're okay with that. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so what we're trying to do here is just understand the structure of a for loop. So basically, we already know how loops work, that we can repeat some code using loops. We've learned about while loops already, and so today we're going to learn about for loops. So let's review a little bit. Looking at this, the structure of a while loop, and we're just looking over here right now. The structure of a while loop is that we're going to have basically four things that we have to do. So we got to initialize a variable. We need a condition that's going to keep us inside of the while loop, okay? And then we need some statements that we're going to repeat, as well as a way of changing the variable that is in control of this condition that makes it so that we either stay in the loop or we exit the loop when this condition is false. So let's look at this example over here, okay? We have this variable initialization. We're creating the int x, making it equal to 0. The condition depends on x. So we have x has to be less than 10 for us to repeat this. Since 0 is less than 10, we're going to go ahead and do the code that's inside the while loop. So we're going to print out 0. Then we're going to increase x by 1. So now x is 1. And that's going to continue to go all the way through as long as x is less than 10. So this is going to just print out 0 through 9, each on their own line. And hopefully that makes sense to you. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the for loop. So for the for loop, the structure looks a little bit different, okay? So here's you use the word for, you use a set of parentheses, you use brackets to show what's going inside of the body of the for loop or what's going to be repeated. And then the three kind of things that control the loop go inside of the parentheses. So we start off with a variable initialization, then a semicolon, then we put the condition with another semicolon, and then we put the changing of the variable last inside of these parentheses, no semicolon there. Okay, so it's a different kind of format than what you're used to for the while loop. But the nice thing about Sorry about that, my phone just started ringing. The nice thing about a for loop, and the reason that some people like a for loop, is because the only thing that goes in the body is the code that's going to be repeated. And so that's kind of nice. All the controls for the loop go inside the parentheses. What you want repeated is going to go inside the body of the loop. So let's take a look at this example down here. This example is the same thing as the while loop that we just looked at. So we have for int x equals 0. That's the variable initialization. Then a semicolon. The condition is x has to be less than 10. All right, then another semicolon. And then we're going to change the variable every time we go through the loop by adding 1 to x. Okay, so it's the same code, it's just a different format. And then what do we want to repeat? We just want to repeatedly print out what x is. So this is another loop that's going to print out 0 through 9, just like the while loop did a second ago. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how this works as far as the programming goes. I should say how the computer runs this or interprets this. So we're going to go ahead and trace this for loop. And so when you're tracing, it's nice to think about these as different steps that we're going to do. So for a for loop, this is what I like to call step 0, step 1. Step 2 is actually in here, and then step 3 is the changing of the variable. Okay, so you should think about this like, okay, I go to step 0. That's the first thing that I do. Make x equal to 0. Then I go to step 1, and if step 1 is true, then I go to step 2. So I go to the body of the loop, and then I go to step 3. But then after I do step 3, I go back to step 1, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So step 0 only gets done one time. We initialize the variable once, we check the variable condition, we do the body of the loop, we change the variable up here, and then we go back to step 1 and check the condition again. So it's kind of like the process of the while loop. It's just it just looks different for a for loop. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And we're going to go ahead and show an example of tracing through this loop using this table. So when we trace through code, remember that what we want to do is we want to keep track of all of the different variables that we have. So we're saying x starts at 0, the different conditions that we have. So x less than 10 is true, and then the different output that we have. So when we output x, we're going to output 0. Okay? So the next thing that would happen in this loop after step 0, 1, and 2 is step 3. So we're going to increase x, so that changes x to 1. And then we're going to go back and we're going to check step 1 again, okay, to see if x is less than 10. So that's true. 1 is less than 10. And so then the next thing that's going to happen is we're going to print out x. So we're going to see 1 added to the output. So you should be anticipating for yourself what's going to happen next. And hopefully you're thinking to yourself, okay, I kind of already got it. We're going to increase x by 1. So x is 2. Now we're going to come back. We're going to check the condition. X less than 10 is true. 2 less than 10 is true. And we're going to go ahead and print that 2 out. Go here again. Still true. Print it out. Increase again. Still true. Print it out. Increase. True. Print it out. Increase it. 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 Still true. 9 is less than 10. And so we're going to go ahead and print this out again. So now we've printed out all 0 through 9. We're going to increase x again. So now x is 10. Go back to this condition. X less than 10 is false. And when this condition is false, that means we're going to skip over the output and we're going to get out of the loop and do whatever's next. Okay, so just like a while loop, as soon as the condition is false, we skip out of it and we go do whatever's coming after that. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about if we have kind of the while loop already figured out, we kind of know how to think about a problem in terms of a while loop, then how do we take that while loop and convert it into a for loop for ourselves? So given a while loop, write an equivalent for loop, and we're going to write that equivalent for loop down here below. So here's the while loop. We have num starting at 100, and we're saying while num is greater than or equal to 1, go ahead and print num, and then take num and divide it by 2, okay? So that's how we're changing it. So write the equivalent for loop below. Well, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to write the word for. So we're going to say for with a set of parentheses and then a set of brackets, okay? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to initialize the variable. So this int num equals 100 for the while loop just goes inside the parentheses of the for loop, and we put the semicolon after it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this condition, so num greater than or equal to 1 goes down here, num greater than or equal to 1, and then we're going to take the change of the variable. So the changing of the variable, num equals num divided by 2, goes in here. No semicolon after that one. I don't know why, but that's how it works. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and say, here's what we're going to repeat. So the code that we want to repeat is to print out num. And so we're just copying that into there. So that's what a for loop looks like from a while loop. Okay. So generally speaking, we use for loops kind of as counting loops. We talked about how like while loops can be either counter controlled or sentinel controlled, and basically like we're looking for a value when we're looking for sentinel controlled loops. That's really good. Like while loops are really good for that type of loop. While loops work for counting loops, but for loops like work a little bit better, and that's because all of the counting, like the logic, goes up here, and then we're just putting down here what it is that's going to be repeated. So it's kind of nice. Okay, so hopefully this is enough of a kind of intro to how for loops should work that you guys can go ahead and get started with some of the assignments. All right, hopefully everybody's doing well, and we'll talk to you again soon.